Raid is back. You heard it right. I took a break. I am back. We are on the test server. We have a huge update coming. I don't know when. Maybe they told us, maybe they didn't, but Mythical Champions, one rarity higher than Legendary, is coming to the game. And listen, Raid's been on kind of a, I don't want to say downward spiral, but it's been kind of boring lately. We had Nut. He was a fantastic fusion, very strong, but there wasn't a lot of anything new. Yes, we got the new dungeons, the Shogun, which was okay, but there's a lot going on with these Mythical Champions, more than meets the eye here. So we're going to talk about the animations, the skills, what they do. I don't really know how easy these are going to be to get, so as far as showcasing them in team comps, I don't think it's going to be that relatable to many people, but the premise of Mythical Champions is incredibly smart, so let's just get right into it. What up, team? It's MurderInc. Again, we are on the test server here, going over Mythic Champions. We have, or I guess, Mythical Champions. We have 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they are so cool. Now, first I want to talk about one thing really quickly here. Why Mythical Champions are so good. Beyond being above Legendary. So Raid shocked me. I'm going to be straightforward with everybody. Raid really did shock me. And you can tell who knows good game design and who doesn't know good game design by how they're going to react to these Mythical Champions here. What Raid could have done is made all of them overpowered, and that would have been a massive power creep and very bad for the game. Very bad for the game. So anyone that's going to say, I mean, I can already see it right now, these champions suck, they're not that good, they just don't know the game that well. Why these champions are so good is because they have above average kits, but as we can see here, they can transform, and their transformations, they're so versatile. That's the main point here. So they added a power creep in versatility instead of actual raw power, which is what you want. You don't want 5 new Mythical Champions that are going to be the best champions in the game when they're going to be, as far as we know, harder to get than legendaries. You don't want that. That's going to make it a massive whale fest. So what they did instead is they gave 5 champions above average kits. I mean, we'll go over that in a second. But they made it so you can metamorph or transform them, and they have a completely different role. So they're basically 2 above average champions in one, but none of them are rank 1 champions, which I didn't think Raid could pull this off. There have been so many signs that we all know about of them just, I don't know, going off. I mean, Terrace and Marichka, perfect example. We don't want champions better than those 2 as Mythical Champions. You don't want that. You really don't. It's really bad for game design, and they knew that somehow. So that was my shock. So we're going to go over these champions, go over the animations of them. Like I said, I'll do some showcases of where they can be good, but we don't know how easy they're going to be to get. One thing I will talk about before I dive into the champions is, here's my best guess on how you can get them, because they did say there's going to be one free one that we can get here. So based on what I've asked a long time ago, there's not going to be a champion as of right now after Ramantu. That would have been the first, like, okay, they're going to put a Mythical Champion after Ramantu. That's going to be the big news here. But as of right now, and from before, they never really planned to go a step further than Ramantu, and there's still no concrete plan in place. But what do they have a champion for that we haven't seen yet? You guessed it, we have it for the Hydra. There's going to be a champion after you get Mithrala. I have her, so I guess we can't see that anymore, even though I'm on the test server here. But if I was a betting man, I don't know anything for sure, but it hasn't been denied by Plarium. They did say there's nothing planned for after Ramantu. That was one thing that was mentioned. But as far as what's after Mithrala, this would be the perfect way to introduce Mythical Champions to lots of players, because we already know that there's going to be some form of primal, whatever they're called, meteorite fragments. Primal Quartz, you can get them from the Hydra. More specifically, the Hydra Clash reward. So with that being said, it would make the most sense that the free champion they were talking about, hopefully I got that right, I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere, is going to be the new Mithril. It just makes the most sense. And it's not going to be achievable for everybody, but it can be achievable for everybody with time, which is the key. And I guess one other thing to point out, even though we can't see prices on the test server, the first pack is visible for the primal shards here. You can buy 5 and 250,000 silver here, and they don't pop up anywhere else. None of my test server limited offers have them here, so there's no real look into that. I've gone through all of this. They didn't rework any of the packs to include primal shards, so there isn't, I guess, a benefit to being a new player after these shards come out. As far as I know, they could change it down the line, but this is all we can see so far. We can't claim them, of course, because we're on the test server and you can't claim anything, but it is what it is. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the champions themselves, right? So first we have Arbais the Stonethorn. Now, I keep trying to figure out where this metamorph form is from. I'm pretty sure there's like a horror movie where there's like something creeping in the woods and it's like messing with people's minds. I don't remember, like, I don't know, maybe someone can comment below what the movie I'm thinking of is, but it was like a thriller horror movie. In the monster kind of looked like this, like the cabin, the woods, I don't even know. So what does she got going on for her? I like her a lot, and where I'm going to showcase her to you guys is in Hydra. Block active skill, that doesn't matter for the content we're doing here. Remove all buffs from all enemies, increase the duration of ally buffs, then place a revive on death buff on all allies for 2 turns. This is really strong, and you're going to see why, because this is just on one form here. Then we have fills the turn meter, attack up, increase accuracy. Perfectly fine. There's the metamorph skill, 30% chance of petrification if you're attacked while revive on death. Again, won't apply to the Hydra, but the A2 is one thing to keep in mind. Same thing with the, I guess, A3 on this in the basic form of this champion here, but it's really the A2 here. So removing buffs, increasing the duration of ally buffs, very strong, because if you move on to the metamorph form, we move to the A2 here, leech and HP burn. So now we have someone that removes buffs from the enemies, which is normally a support role thing to do. This is almost, okay, I'm not going to compare her to Geomancer, but Geomancer can remove buffs from one target. This champion removes buffs from all targets and places an AoE HP burn and a leech. Really strong for Hydra, I don't really have to explain that, but of course not going to be doing as much damage as Geomancer because we don't have that broken passive that he has. One attack placing a 30% decreased speed buff on the attacker for 2 turns occurs once per hit. Also reduces the damage taken by all allies from skills by 20%. This is really strong because of her A3, continuous heals on the entire team, taunt buff, so she's going to be focused, and she gets stone skin on top of that. So this is a really well-rounded kit, and like I said before, this is incredible design. Not a single one of these kits are like extremely busted and OP on their own, but together we have the combination of 2 to 3 really strong champions, and it's just such a versatile kit. So that, like I said, I can't stress this point enough. They knocked it out of the park with how to introduce a power creep without making a power creep into the game. So I really like this a lot because this frees up slots for you. It's going to feel good to pull a champion like this, because if you're using 3 champions or 2 champions to do her job, now you're only using 1, and that should be the benefit of some type of champion in this game, and I'm glad it's from Mythical. So next champion we have is going to be Frolni the Mechanist. Now, as far as what he does, I kind of built him really fast. We're going to test him out in Arena here. What most people are going to be interested in is the A2, steals 2 buffs from a target. The effect cannot be resisted if this attack is critical. Repeats the attack once here. I mean, I guess I should have given him 100% crit rate, although, how often do enemies have more than 2 buffs? I guess pretty often, so let's just go ahead right now and swap this to crit rate, just so we can get this out of the way. Crit rate, equipped, speed, want as much speed as possible, so he goes first, which is going to be nice here. Let's see, we went down 3 speed, 97% crit rate. Not ideal for a showcase, but we will just go with it. Oh, I forgot I don't have masteries. Beautiful. Get all, 5% crit rate in the clear here. Now let's boost our total speed, just because we can, and we're good. Okay, 100% crit rate, a little bit more speed, good. As far as his other skills, ignoring defense on his A1, so any type of counterattack with this champion, he'll do decent damage, but I don't think that's going to be his main purpose. Attacks all enemies, damage increases if this champion's HP is higher than each target's. Like I said, his A2 is pretty strong, and you'll want to go first with this to see if it works on Stone Skin, so we'll kind of see what this is. Increases crit damage based on every 100% health, increases max HP by 20% and speed by 20 whenever this champion kills an enemy, resets each round. Okay, let's see the mythical version now. Attacks one enemy twice, each hit increases this champion's defense by 5 up to 100, that's pretty damn strong. Attacks one enemy, heals this champion by 50%, then balances the HP of all allies. Solid support here. This is the key here, and this is why I was thinking, okay, so we steal Stone Skin, then you metamorph, and hopefully you have 2 turns, because when you metamorph, it does take a turn up. So this isn't like crazy OP, but it can be strong even with 1 turn of Stone Skin on, because then it places ally protection buff on all allies and unkillable on this champion. So even when Stone Skin is off, you still won't be able to get killed because you'll have 1 turn of unkillable left. Then places a shield buff for 2 turns on all allies with less than 50% health. The value of the shield is proportional to this champion's defense. Passive does 80% reflect damage. This will only really help once Stone Skin's off, of course. Debuffs placed on this champion decreases the producer's accuracy by 10%. So it's like a built-in decrease accuracy, or I guess increase resistance if you want to think about it that way. So that's what we're going to test for this guy. Next we have Siegfrund the Nephilim. He was, I think, showcased in the raid official video here. So let's take a look at his skills here. I built this guy for hard mode dragon because I think that's where he's going to shine, simply because of his A1. The first hit transfers all debuffs, there's no cooldown, then increases the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. This is going to be really strong for the hard mode dragon, of course. Then he has a few skills that are kind of damage focused and damage based. I don't think that's going to be his main purpose. Could be wrong here. I haven't tested his multipliers out, but all of his other kits and synergies really kind of focus, in my view at least, on this A1 transferring debuffs, and then moving on to the passive. If this champion is about to get killed by a fatal hit, strong because the hard mode dragon hits pretty damn hard, places block damage buff for 1 turn, then heals this champion by 50% of their max HP and fills their turn meter by 100%. Let's take a look at his metamorph skills here. So this is going to be, in my view at least, a support / reviver that can also transfer debuffs, which is really strong. So removes all debuffs from all allies, then heals them by 30% of their max health, and places block debuffs on them for 2 turns. Then we have A1. It's an AoE, and it heals all allies by 20% of the damage inflicted here. Sure, you can scale damage, but I don't think that's going to be the key, like I mentioned before. Then we have revives all allies with 50% HP and turn meter, then places block damage on all allies except this champion for 1 turn. So here we have our AoE revive here, and then it reduces damage taken from skills by 20%. So we have some built-in defense, which I really like. The next champion we have is Mezomel Luperfang. Now, when I saw this champion, as we can see from the gear set on, wanted to damage check it. Basically, tons of healing, will ignore Stone Skin, Strength, and Ally Protect and Shields. Places the block revive if the target's killed here. Increase attack, increase crit rate, and increase damage on this champion for 3 turns. Then grants an extra turn. You gotta love it. Heals this champion by 20% of the damage inflicted. Places revive on death buff on this champion for 2 turns if they kill an enemy. Moving on to the metamorphosis, or I should really get the name of that. What is it called again? Metamorph. Okay, Metamorph, I'll remember that. So now we metamorph, attacks all enemies. So it's an AoE. This attack will not trigger counterattacks. Extra hit if there's a True Fear. As you guessed, AoE True Fear debuff for 2 turns. Will once again not trigger counterattacks. Also ignores unkillable and block damage buffs. So we're ignoring a lot of things. Only 2 skills on this form, which is interesting. Then we have a passive, increases this champion's attack and crit damage by 20% while in their alternate form. So just a straight up baseline buff to this metamorph form of Mezomel Luperfang. And then finally we have the orc, Gharol Bloodmaul. So the first one, damage based on HP here. We have attacks on enemy, increases the cooldown of a random skill on the target by 2 turns, always removes any shield buffs. Strong, can't get around that. Attacks all enemies, places provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, also places unkillable on this champion for 3 turns. Next we have removes block buffs from allies, places ally protection, also places a shield based on 30% of this champion's max health. When attacked, decrease the duration of all buffs to the attacker. Also heals all allies except this champion by 50% of the damage taken occurs once per hit. So this is similar to Vogoth. Next we have the enhanced form where they change into an attack-based champion from HP. Attacks all enemies, has a 20% chance of repeating the attack, pretty strong. Next, the A2 here, this is kind of similar to Terrace, and we all know how strong Terrace is. Damage of this skill increases by 10% for each buff from this champion, ignores 30% of the defense, sure. Whenever an ally attacks, this champion has a 25% chance to team up and join them on their attack. Damage increases as these champions' HP decreases. Okay, it's kind of hard and practical use to pull this off, but it's still a fine passive for sure. And maybe I skipped over it, but ignores 30% of the target's defense. So with that being said, let's test out as much as we possibly can here in kind of a spitfire way. The first thing we'll start is we will do Nightmare. This team looks fine. We'll just slam it on auto, and you can set your presets so this works. Wait a second. How well is this gonna work without someone cleansing the true fear? That's the question. Yeah, we're not afraid of anything, so let's do this to kind of soak in any possible damage we can here, and we'll just let it go. But as I was trying to say before, the AI is a smart AI. When you go to the preset of all of your skills here, it gives you the opportunity to use the Metamorphosis skill, and it shows you both form skills in that preset. I guess it would be easier if I just showed you, but that was kind of the basic explanation here. Now, this isn't the hardest rotation for a champion like this, so I guess we kind of have to see how this plays. Ideally, I would be using someone like, what's his name? Inquisitor Shamael. So these true fears just don't exist on my champions here, but you will quickly see that this is the perfect fail-safe champion to have paired with someone like a Hugo or anyone, just in case a buff gets through and block buffs fall off somehow on the Hydra heads. And of course, we have Nut doing nut things. It is what it is. So the buffs were stolen. They were then blocked. Thankfully, we had that block buffs on. Let's see if anything gets through here so we can kind of showcase the swapping of the forms just to take it off, kill a few turns, and then we'll swap back to apply the HP burn. Okay, perfect. This is what we were waiting for. So now we're going to use this, metamorph back. She gets an extra turn, which is needed. Now we use this skill, remove all buffs. Bam. Game, set, match. Easy. Now we have to wait, I believe it's 2 turns or so until things die down a bit. And rinse and repeat. You guys can already see how strong this is. We'll metamorph again here. The cooldowns do get lower even if you're not in the metamorph form. So we had just used the HP burn, then we used metamorph, and each turn reduced the cooldowns of this form as well, just to clarify that, because I know that's probably something that people would be interested and want to know. Alright, so here we are in the arena. First thing I want to do is, I'm assuming this team has Stone Skin on. Assuming. I mean, you know what they say about assuming, but I'm just going to assume this. So I want to test the champion. Let's sort this by rank. That can steal buffs, and I believe it is this guy. Yeah, steals 2 buffs. So let's test the dwarf out first. I guess we only need 3 champions to test this out, right? I think so. Let's just give it a go, and hopefully they do have Stone Skin on. Okay, there is the Stone Skin. Bring this up here. Then we have steal 2 buffs. Can't be, ooh, weak hit. Let's see if this affects it at all. Okay, so it's still a chance on Stone Skin. I do not believe that was a weak hit. So it doesn't straight up take Stone Skin. So, I don't know. There we have it, I guess. So let's fight this team again. And now let's test some of the damage dealers. I mean, we're going to have Duchess's reduced damage taken from AoE, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Let's use Duchess here. And then I believe she's the one who scales off of the amount of buffs on the champion, so this is going to be something to test for sure. The first buff here. Do we get anything? I think this is one extra buff with the shield, right? So we have all this going on here. Let's just boost again because we don't care. And now we're going to metamorph. Now this is where you have to be careful. Anything that applies a 1-turn duration buff is going to get burned here because you can see this counts as a turn. Should they have done this? Probably not. I mean, maybe it will be too strong based on future champion releases, but let's just see. We'll ignore 30% of target's defense. Let's give it a go. So it doesn't do a crazy amount of damage. I saw 117,000. I'm assuming this guy's team just isn't very well built, but anything that scales with conditional damage, I've gone over this before, Seer, Terrace, so it does damage for sure. Granted, I have pretty above average gear on, and there you can kind of see we almost broke through the Stone Skin with the passive here where he joins in. 32,000 with the Strengthen buff on Ultimate Death Knight, not bad. Okay, there's the double hit there. So decent damage, like I said, nothing game-breaking and game-changing, but the fact that you can metamorph between two versatile kits is really strong here. So again, another fantastic mythical champion to add here. Okay, attack up. Go for the sleep, resisted. We knew that was going to happen, doesn't really matter here. I believe the metamorph skills are going to be grants an extra turn, so let's do this. Another extra turn here. Okay, so we're fully buffed up. Let's try. I'm assuming the A1 isn't going to hit as hard as the A2. It's never good to assume, but I'm going to assume anyways. Let's see. We'll go 1x speed, how hard the A2 hits. Okay, so of course, less damage than the conditional damage dealer, which you would kind of expect here. So let's go auto. The next attack, of course, is going to be the A1 from this wolf. That's a pretty cool animation, 36,000. We're not even close to breaking the Stone Skin because we don't have the passive that the other guy had. Although, I mean, these animations look awesome. No one really wasn't expecting that because Raid's art and animation team are phenomenal. But I guess it is worth noting for sure here. We tested the 3 damage dealers. I guess we can try testing against one of the new champions just to see. We got a pretty similar team here, so let's kind of see how this plays out. We will use, okay, so we're weak affinity if we use green. Now let's just go for it anyways, why not? Let's boost this. Lock them out if we can. There was a counterattack, nice. Let's just use the revive because why not? Now let's do increased attack, crit rate, and crit damage. I guess technically you could build this champion with lower crit rate because this buff's pretty much on for the important nukes here. But you're going to metamorph, so maybe it's not worth it just having 2 turns, and then it's going to go down even further. Kind of pumps, not going to lie. It kind of pumps. Like I said, am I expecting a top tier damage dealer? Absolutely not. If anyone was expecting that, I mean, maybe people were expecting it because Raid hasn't typically been the best, but we'll see. I think they did a good job design-wise. This kind of makes sense with what you would want for Mythical Champions. You don't want something that's going to break the game, as I talked about at the start, so there you have it. So let's find nub rates again, and let's swap champions here, just so we can keep the The same testing pool, accurate, recently used first. We go with you. Let's swap to Duchess for more buffs, and here we go. Okay. Increase attack. I mean, buffs can be stolen, so maybe it's not that ideal for him. Okay, let's do this. Okay, nothing was taken. Perfect. Boost one more time so we get a turn. The shield is placed now. Beautiful. Now we are going to metamorph. And we still have our buffs. Perfect. Now let's do this and get a quick damage check going on. Okay, so this, like we expected, conditional damage is on top. Very strong. Let's see how we're going to do with the ally attacks here. It's proccing pretty often. And it's doing sizable damage. So this champion seems like the best for the offensive types of them all, simply for that A1 proc chance, which seems to be very high. It's like a weaker version of Terrace, but Terrace can't metamorph, and of course, Terrace is void. This champion's not void. Let's just swap him in here. Why not? We'll just swap him in, hit full auto, and just see how it goes. I will change one thing, and I'll actually show you this. You see how you can see both forms, base form and alternate form? Oh, so it's only when they're the last living. So I guess that's okay. This one's going to be harder to apply, and this seems to be very conditional, so this might be the free one. I hate to say it like that, but usually the worst of the bunch is what they gravitate towards for the free ones, but we want to be using the A1 as often as possible for this. And let's prioritize... Actually, you can't prioritize A1 first. I mean, essentially we can kind of just turn this, and we'll damage check it. We'll see how it goes. So let's do this. Just start it. Hopefully everyone has gear. Hopefully, if not, we'll find out pretty quickly, won't we? That's such a cool looking skill. I'm just going to say that much. That is a really cool looking animation. The basic attack's okay, but that long flame sword slash, nothing like it for sure here. Okay, beautiful. 83,000, so I guess technically he's doing a decent amount of damage to stack up. We'll have to see. Okay, so I should have built him with accuracy. So he's not like, what's his name, or what's her name, Lysandra, where no accuracy is needed. He has to be built with accuracy to transfer the buffs. So I'm glad this happened here. There's the revive. I mean, at least we got to see that. That's pretty cool. Having Seer on the team, now that I think about it, isn't the most ideal thing because she just removed all of the block damage buffs. Although, that was pretty nifty for sure here. Cooldowns got reset. He re-revived. And now Nut just doing nut things, doing, what was that, 2-point-something million damage here. Oof. Does Nut have enough to win? I think we actually lose this. Caught in 4K. We did lose this. Let's look at the damage breakdown, though. 1 million damage. Seer should have done more. Okay, so he's slightly behind Ghostborn in a full offensive build. Had I put accuracy on this guy, not knowing if it would work or not, fair to test, I guess, he would have done much more, right? He would nowhere near Nut, of course, and probably nowhere near Seer. Not really sure what I messed up in the AI, but it is what it is. So overall, pretty good champion. Niche, like we went over with, where everyone has to die first, but despite me building him with speed and more offensive stats in a speed set, he still was pretty tanky and survived last because of his passive. So overall, I'm happy with these mythical champions. I think this is the right direction for sure. I'm excited for the new content that's going to be tied with these champions because Raid's kind of on fire right now in a good way. They're on a hot streak. Let's see if they can keep this up because development of these champions is the right direction for the game.